Sophie O'Brien, and this is the Hopecast from Library of Hope. We're building a living archive of people, ideas, and experiments that show how the future can be shaped with care, creativity, and a whole lot of imagination. I'm joined, as always, by the amazing Helen Trickey, and today we're talking to the absolute legend that is Gemma Harrison, the force behind Camp VC and VC London, a movement that began with bikes and has grown into a festival and community where freedom, adventure, and hope come alive for women and non-binary folk. Well, let's get into it.
I'm really excited because we have Fee and myself, who you might have got to know over previous podcasts. But really excitingly, we've got Gemma with us, Gemma Harrison. I'm just going to share that I met Gemma in like a little town in Wales 2 or 3 years ago. And we actually met to talk about a Nike project. And then I was like, scrap the Nike project, let's talk about what you're up to. And because what Gemma's been up to is really, really exciting. You've always seen opportunity to do things differently. And having kind of decided to pick up a motorbike 10 or so years ago, and then inviting women to come and ride in a car park. Asda car park? Am I getting these details right?
No, it was like a little crummy car park around the back of our workshop. It was Screwfix car park, which seemed worse.
No, that's cool. It feels hardcore. So basically, Jem picked up a motorbike, offered to bring other women in to learn how to ride. And the culmination of that ended up being about 150 women riding out at the end of the year out to Wales and camping up in a field. And that was the beginning of what we now call Camp VC, which is something that I'm involved in and Fee's involved in as well. But Jem, I think you should tell us a bit more on why did motorbikes and camp and all the things that you're doing now. What in you 10 years ago made you want to do this?
I think there was no want to do it aside from the doing, if that makes sense. Like, I think in today's world, a lot of people are obsessed with a plan or a brand or an idea. Like, I've got to get to this end point, and there was no end point. There was just a tiny, tiny little idea and just lots of fucking fun. We were having so much fun on these little tiny motorbikes just together. And at the time, I was a senior designer in luxury fashion and had this whole other life where, as I went up the sort of ladder, I sort of lost that sort of hands-on. I mean, I've always been really creative. I've always been a bit of a dreamer, obsessed with subculture, and I was just kind of losing why it was that I got into what I got into with fashion. I was really lucky really early on to get to work for some incredible people, and I don't know, maybe I just peaked too early. I mean, the higher I went up, the more business-like it got, and the less it was about what I really truly loved, which was being creative, but also just creating a world around all these different things that I was doing. And yeah, I just picked up a motorbike. My husband had bought this little shit motorbike with our wedding money. He did ask, and we rode around on this. Man, it was excruciating, this bike, but I loved it. And I was just on the back of it, and he moved on to this really fancy big Triumph very quickly, and then said, like, why don't you learn to ride? I knew no other women that rode. At the time, it didn't really matter to me. I didn't have a driver's license. I was like, yeah, it'd be fucking cool to ride a little motorbike to and from work. Got on this little 125 and just absolutely loved it. And at the end and the beginning of my day, you know, these long, busy days working in fashion, I was able to go through this incredible city at night by myself, and I just had this new sort of like found sense of freedom. And then I went along to a bike show called the Bike Shed. It was in its very early iteration. It's not like what it's become today. It was very small back then, but we were riding in. My husband was riding in front of me. I was behind. He was riding in on his fancy Triumph, and then this guy was like ushering him into the custom bike area. And then me, I'm not going to be left on my own. I can't like ride on my own. I was shitting myself. So I just followed him in on my little like crappy little stock bike and pulled up at the side of him and all these fancy bikes. And these two dudes, it drove me crazy. They laughed as I came in, and I just was like, fuck you. I was like, it was like a red rag to a bull. I was like, I'm gonna like start to rebuild bikes and mess around with them. I was already hands-on with stuff. I'd grown up around my dad with loads of tools, and you know, he restored old cars. As I was growing up, I was just used to that environment, and then it just was like, right, I'm going to make this bike so cool that you're never going to laugh at me again, you assholes. And then like went home, got out an angle grinder, and just decided to make this bike. And along the way, I had a couple of friends that wanted to learn to ride, so I said I'd teach them just from the little that I had picked up, and taught them to ride. And well, one of them had already tried to learn to ride with a partner and then with an instructor, and she just hated it. She said it just wasn't for her, and she just didn't have the confidence and wasn't getting the right kind of teaching. My teaching wasn't great, but I knew how to make people stop and go and turn, which is mostly how to ride a motorbike. But after she did it with me, she was just so happy, and she decided to get a license, and it kind of went from there. We got our heads together. By this point, we'd got this workshop with some friends, guys and girls, all together in this workshop, building little bikes. This was in the early days of Instagram becoming really big. And we were just like, why don't we like make a little Instagram account and just see if any other girls want to learn to ride? We'll just teach them, we're in this car park at the back of our workshop. And so we put a message out saying, this Friday, if anyone wants to learn to ride, come down. And we were just inundated. It was crazy. It was insane. We were like, oh dear God, what have we done? But like, come on, all the best things start that way, don't they? So we were teaching these women to ride in this little car park around the back of our workshop. They were just loving it. And we were getting more and more messages from people. It wasn't just the women themselves, it was also their partners saying, my partner's been on the back of my bike for a long time, and they want to learn to ride now, so can they come down? And slowly it just grew, and it just mushroomed. It just went absolutely nuts. And at the same time, I was coming out of love with what I was doing as my job. It was weird. I was in this like well-paid job for years, and then all of a sudden I just said to my husband, I think I'm just going to stop. I had a good sense for what was going on with VC. Although I worked in fashion, I had like quite a specific role, which was much to do with like storytelling, brand building, and the narrative around brands, being right hand to creative directors to create this entire vision for a brand and what it looks like. And like I said, I've always been obsessed with subculture and youth culture, and I just kind of had the willies. I just kind of had the feeling that this is something really special. And in a world where all these like fashion brands are like clamoring to get in all these magazines, all of a sudden they were all calling us at BC. And like I was sat at my desk on Monday morning and my boss was like, why are you in Dazed and Confused? Like, what is this thing you're doing? And so I just decided to like follow my intuition. And I also kind of felt like in fashion, I wasn't doing anything that helped women. I actually felt like fashion could be part of the problem. I think the part of me that wanted to actually make some good in the world slowly slipped away, and all of a sudden this thing started to exist, which was just next level. And the things that people were saying to us after they've ridden, like, it's changed my life, and I found this new thing, and it's all because of you letting me ride your little motorbike round Screwfix car park on a Saturday morning, which was just incredible. And then one thing led to another, and we thought, wouldn't it be great to get everybody together in the countryside? A friend of a friend knew someone with a little farm in Wales. We were like, can we have your field for a weekend? Then, 150 women came out to this field. We worked with Babes Ride Out, who are a massive organisation in the US. And I got in touch with them. Like, my whole life's been like a set of weird happenstances where I've just got in touch with someone and said, hey, do you want to come to England and do this little mini version of your festival in the UK? And they were like, yeah, why not? So they came over and helped us to put it together, and the rest was history. And then slowly over the years, it's attracted the most incredible people, from skateboarders to outdoor adventure enthusiasts to people who are crafting and entertainment people. And so all these little things were just gravitating towards us, all these people. One person was like, I teach skateboarding, can I come? And can you get a skate ramp? We were working with Vans at the time, and so we started asking them, can we get a skate ramp? So they're like, yeah, sure, we can help you to sort out a skate ramp. And then it turned into an absolute monster, which just has everything from motorbiking, mountain biking, walking, climbing, trail running, kickboxing, but all through the same way, just through community and wellness and crafts. And
What's been your thoughts on, because it did start off on motorbikes and now it's all sorts of different things. Where's that come from?
I'm going to be honest and say from my life, I'm not a person that describes himself as a biker, even though I ride a lot. I don't call myself one thing. I just do all of this stuff, and I'm bang into crafts as well. It's the weirdest thing. I'm just the weirdest person. Yeah, so it is like the embodiment of the inside of my head, but also the incredible people that kind of just turn up and go, hey, I can do acrobatics. Can I come and teach? Or it's actually born from the community that come, and it self-creates, even though it's not just motorcycles anymore. I don't think it was ever just motorcycles.
Mad. I love it. If you could fast forward 10 years from now, what would be the ultimate embodiment of Camp VC? What would it look like to you? How would it feel and how would it look and what would it represent to you personally?
It's really cheesy, but when you're at Camp VC, you realize that there's this kind of magic created, and it's really tough to put in a nutshell how it makes people feel when they're there. I'm really lucky. I get to read all the feedback emails, and people say it is genuinely life-changing, and the atmosphere that is created there is created by the people that come. They know that when they come, that everybody might be on their own. So you've got to talk to people. In today's world, you don't step out and you talk to people. People are finding it harder to connect. They're finding it harder to find community. Women's self-confidence, I can only speak for myself, growing up in the 90s, self-confidence wasn't exactly a thing that was like injected into us from a young age. And so this place that you can come and you can sort of repair these tiny bits of you that were a little bit fractured and a little bit like, oh, I don't feel quite okay doing that, or I feel embarrassed to try something, or don't feel like I look like I fit there. That all goes out the window at Camp VC. And we really get to see what a society would look like if we were all as free and as safe as we fucking wanted to be at all times. My goal with Camp VC, I do want it to reach as many women as possible, because I do believe that women and non-binary people, they need these spaces. They need the freedom to be able to feel like their best selves, and to be able to like experience what it is to really be free, and to not feel like there's something over your shoulder or that you can't do it, in a world where we're constantly told like, it's probably not for you. You shouldn't take that risk. You shouldn't do that thing. We grew up like that. And so to be told you can, and I will help you, or this crowd of people will help you, and it's okay to do that thing that you want to, or be that person you want to. It's fine, don't worry, and we'll all do it together. That's what I want as many women as possible and non-binary people as possible to be able to experience, because it is just a thing of magic. It's genuinely something special, and the intuition that we've had to be able to follow it, to grow it to what it's become today, it's real, and when you come, you experience that. And I want people to have as much of that in their life as possible.
I don't know if I've told you both, I find journaling like strange, but what I do like doing is going on AI and like visualizing stuff. It's like my cathartic place.
Love it.
I put in this was like maybe 6 months ago. I described VC. So I like literally started off with like, this is a place where you feel really free and safe. But then I was like, you look in one direction and it's like a load of women trying motorbikes for the first time. And you look in another direction and one woman's just had her hair done. A crew are coming in from whitewater rafting. There's some in like mental health workshops. Some are doing like know your worth like financially. There's karaoke being set up. Like I just like wrote a list basically of all the things that happen. And then it just came back and said,
computer says no.
Yeah. Basically, the equivalent of like code 404.
I was
just like, yeah. And I was like, this is like, I've basically broken AI. And I haven't broken AI. I just described what Camp VC was. But Jen, you and your vision broke AI. And that is just.
This is the thing. I like to say it's intuition, not a vision, because there was never a vision for it. There was just
fair.
A willingness to follow what was going on around me and what others were saying and doing, and the feeling it was creating. It was like this perfect little squashing together of all these different elements that I knew to trust. I think that's what keeps the magic going. It's what keeps people coming. It's what makes you go, fuck, I went to this place last weekend, to all your friends, and they're just like, we should all go next year. Until this year, we never ever marketed the event because we just didn't need to. It sold out every year. People just kept telling their friends, stop telling your friends you don't want to get any bigger. And this year was the first time we ever marketed it. And it was just like, it just went like this all of a sudden. I mean, I was always pretty confident that if we got the word out further, that more women and non-binary folks would want to come. And also we're really lucky to work with some incredible people for photography, for video, people that help us with social media. They're all people that have come to this organically. They've all come via Camp VC, and so they all feel something really deeply for it. So being able to storytell with all this imagery from all these amazing people, it's not too much of a hard job, really.
And it's all coming from the heart, right? Like you say, everyone's been there, they've experienced, they know what that feeling is. So none of it's coming from this place of fakery, creating this world. It exists, man. That's the beautiful thing about it. Because so much of what you're trying to create there is that feeling of freedom, right? But I feel like that feeling of freedom, it gets rid of all the bullshit that stops us from being able to see any hope in anything, right? So what you're doing is not just creating a feeling of freedom, but it's actually this feeling of hope that you take away well
Yeah.
beyond Camp VC, mate, because it's not just at Camp VC that we feel free, because we know what that's like. When you're surrounded by people that you feel comfortable with, you feel good, you feel supported and seen. But then when you leave that situation, you go back into the real world. I feel like what Camp VC makes you feel is that freedom to then allow you to have that hope well beyond Camp VC. And I think that's the serious magic of it, right?
Oh, that's amazing.
And that's why it's so important that it does talk to so many different women, trans and non-binary. There is craft, there is adventure sports, there is whitewater rafting, there is, karaoke. It's all of those things that make up different human beings and the things that we need to release and how we want to live, how we want to go forward in our lives. So yeah, man, massive.
Absolutely. And I think, like, do you know what? Like, hope and freedom, I think it comes from a wildness in women. I think, like, being able to reconnect with just being your wild self and just being whatever it is that you weren't conditioned to be, just doing whatever it is you feel like you want to do, saying whatever it is you want to say after maybe years of keeping it in. The one thing I love and that gives me massive hope for the future, I've always been obsessed with young people and youth culture. They have that wildness and they have that access to a freedom that's inside. You don't have the shit of the world all on you yet. And I love that. I have huge faith in what young people and young women are gonna do in the future. I just hope that they can enjoy that freedom of youth, because I think that's really hopeful. The freedom that comes with youth is something that made me dream beyond like anything I could ever imagine when I was young. And I got what I wanted. I got it because I just felt a bit rogue and wild and silly and free. And I hope that that's not taken away from young people, because I think that that's something that needs to be tapped into for the future of everything. The freedom that comes with thinking with an untethered mind, like that's something that really inspires me and gives me hope for the future. Hope comes for women from us repairing ourselves and the shit that we carry, but it also comes in hopefully what's going to be taken off of a younger generation for women, I hope.
Freedom to explore and give stuff a go. While you were just talking, I was like, when does that go for women especially? Like I worked with Lego for a bit, and they were like 7 is like you start already kind of losing your creativity, and that happens more in girls and boys. I mean, what is it, what happens? It's just what is expected of us, right? Like, what happens age 7 where a girl's, especially like girls, stop playing sport? What is it, age 13? What are the barriers to that?
I think that, again, we feel the expectancy still isn't there anymore. I mean, we've had a female empowerment movement and lots more books about girls for girls. I mean, I'm a mother of 2 boys, and I don't think that it just comes from feeding into young girls. I think it comes from feeding into young boys as well. I think it comes from feeding into everybody. I always said when I first had my first son, I want to be his hero just like my husband is his hero. I don't want him to see me not doing things because I'm a girl. We tried to cultivate a sense of, this isn't like me doing this and dad doing this. So I've always been the mum that rides the motorbike or climbs the tree, or any friends with young girls. They give me massive hope for the future. One of our other business partners, Mouse, she has this amazing wild daughter who is just incredible. But I think she's definitely one of the most incredible mums, because she's just gives everything a go. She just started doing BMX after trying it at Camp BC. And so for a young girl to see her mum do that and just be like, yeah, I'm going to go start BMX next week, it's like this example, because we're chipping away at these things. And she specifically said she thought when she was growing up that those things weren't for her. There was never really like a serving up of like, would you like to try skateboarding? It was her brother went skateboarding and she went shopping with her mum. And it's not until she's like now with her daughter just going and trying out these things. So I think that if that's Camp BC's legacy, is to create this confidence in women and non-binary people, where they can be an example to everyone around them, not just to children, but to everyone around them. Because I've always said that if somebody comes to Camp BC, tries riding a motorcycle and never does it again, I don't care. As long as they take that confidence and that feeling of being a badass that they've just created by burning across a field on a dirt bike, they take that into their life. So they go and ask for that pay rise. They go ditch that shitty boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever. and just basically go and lead their life with that wildness, with that freedom, and with that confidence that actually, yeah, I can do things. I can do hard stuff. I can do stuff I was told I wasn't able to. And, you know, if that's our legacy, then I will die happy.
But you already do that. I mean, just from my personal experience, like when I leave, every time I'm like, "That's it. I'm changing my life. I'm doing this. Oh, this is what I fucking do." And then I start some new random business, and I'm like, "What am I doing?" I've never been on a motorbike. I've never done any of like the adventure sport stuff, but I still the energy just emanates off the grounds. It's so magic to even watch other women do that, and that's it. It's not just me having to do it; it's watching other women do that, and I'm like, fuck yeah, they're doing it. I can go and do these things that are more my kind of thing, even though I do want to get on a motorbike. It does just feed this positivity. It's this like, fuck yeah, I can do it. And other people are doing it and I can do it too. And it does lead into your life well beyond Camp VC.
Something that people always say about Camp VC to me is, oh, there's just so many cool people walking around site, and, you know, oh, they're just so cool. And I wouldn't have been able to just go up and talk to them in normal life because I just thought they were really cool. But then when I spoke to them, they thought I was cool as well. And so we were all just like, there's this whole thing with women and non-binary folks. So we're all like looking at each other, assuming that everyone's too cool for each other, or everyone's got it sorted and solved. And actually, we're all just the same. We're all just the same. We're all really good at different things, and we're all like bringing something else to the table. And Camp VC just throws it all out there and allows everyone to dip into each other's worlds, which is really, really fun. I mean, just the people from all walks of life, from so many different age groups. I mean, it's just insane. I love it.
I love as well, Fee, you mentioned non-adventure sports. It's about exploration and freedom, right? Motorbikes are the ultimate in freedom, and from that comes this like hope and opportunity, and that's why VC feels like it's born there, but like it's gone so much further. And there's also things like well-being and mental health. And like, Jem, how does that all fit into where VC kind of moves forward? And also, Fee, you've been on the ground in amongst it all. Like, how do people show up for that?
I think that even though Camp VC has gone from motorcycles to sport to adventure sport to this wider world of just everything, really, there's always been a thread running through it where it's quite cathartic to be there, and it's like quite a release, and you feel all these feelings. And so being able to hold these spaces at Camp VC where we can really delve into that and talk to each other about the way we're feeling. So, you know, you get this feeling on site, you go away afterwards, but how do you put it into effect? Or how has it affected your sense of self on site? Or how has it affected your mental health being there? And what do you want to talk about? What are the things you want to work on? What, maybe it's gender, maybe it's like mental health, maybe it's the menopause. And so we started with a couple of little workshops last year that Fee started to put on, bringing amazing characters and amazing organizations together to start talking to everyone on site about how they felt and what was going on in their lives. And then we like burst that wide open this year, and it just went off the charts. It was amazing. Fee did this incredible tent called the Bad Bitch Assembly. I mean, you did such an amazing job last year with the smaller workshops, and then it was like, hang on, people are gonna go wild for this if we really like think about the things that women and non-binary people are experiencing right now and bring together the right people to talk.
Yeah, man. I mean, this year we kind of really delved into the inner workings of women, trans, and non-binary. It's such a safe space that you feel held by everyone there. And every time we do the talks and the workshops, everyone is super emotional. And I think that's because it is this sense of release and relief that finally we can just be ourselves and say what we want to say and feel what we want to feel. And all of these things just come to the surface. And we're all crying and we're all laughing. It's all of the emotions all at once. But I think that's the beautiful thing about it. And it just shows the need for that, for us to be able to visualize what we want out of our lives and also what we want the world to look like. It just feeds me with hope, and it feels like we all just emanate off each other when we're in these spaces. And it's just showing that people want this freedom to explore anything you want to explore for yourself, whether that is riding a motorbike or whether it is taking a really good hard look at yourself and answering some of those questions we've pushed to the side because we're too caught up with doing our job or being a mum or being a partner or, you know, just trying to bloody get through. When we have the time and the space where we're held and we're seen for who we are, it's proper magic stuff, which give so much hope to so many people.
I think that's one thing that I've learned about the power rests with us in taking care of one another, in creating spaces for each other, in creating community, in sharing skills, in giving permission, just saying, it's fine, don't worry, we're all shit at it in the beginning. Or, you know, I felt those things too. I know you're not supposed to say them, but I felt like that too. Or I feel that way about myself too. But I got through it. In these spaces where we're all doing it for each other, we're starting to fix problems together and we're starting to become each other's solution, which I find really inspiring and really motivating to always carry on as far as we can. That's when the freedom comes, because we're creating it together, we're doing it together.
I'd like to know what role you think risk plays in hope.
I think as women, well, we're brought up not to take risks. We're encouraged not to climb the tree. We haven't like historically been encouraged to take risks, especially not the generation that we sit in and the ones before it. And so, yes, motorcycles, yeah, okay, they're risky, and sports are risky, but a risk might even be just stepping out of your comfort zone and admitting that you're going to go and do this thing by yourself and feeling so bloody uncomfortable about it until you go and take that risk. Like bursting through risk and bursting through insecurities or things holding you back is actually the way forward. If 9 times out of 10, if you do the risky thing, you're going to fucking love it and it's going to be for the better. I'm trying to actually teach my son about that at the moment. Getting out of your own way and stop saying no, because you might rob yourself of some of the best things that have ever happened to you. And I think we're just not inherently brought up that way, and to take those risks. We get a lot of messages from people that come solo to Camp BC and just say, it's one of the best things I've done. And I was shitting myself when I came. I thought that I would just sit in my tent all weekend by myself. But actually, because we set things up for solo attendees where they can meet up and chat, and we tried to put out a message where it's okay to take the risk. And so building hope with risk, I mean, the two come in hand. You have to step outside of your comfort zone and take that risk in order to give yourself hope and do this thing that you come away feeling inspired by and might change your life. And so taking risks for women and non-binary people should be, you know, just a given, and you should be able to do that stuff. But it takes more for us to be able to take risks, because we've just not been trained to do it. I try to live by what I preach and take risks as much as possible. I suppose some people would say my life's pretty risky. I'm like throwing myself down hills on mountain bikes and, you know, messing about on dirt bikes with my kids on weekends and stuff. But, you know, the risk can just be from putting yourself out there and trying something new, like speaking to someone that you haven't spoken to before. And that should give everybody hope. That should be something that should give everybody hope for their own futures.
If you could fast forward to 2050, Gem, what would a hopeful world for women and non-binary people look like?
I hope for a world where women's rights aren't debated. They're just not debated, and they're just guaranteed. Safety is just not a privilege. It should just be universal, and every woman and every non-binary person should have access to that. Leadership shouldn't be exceptional. It should just be normal. Like women in these positions and non-binary folks in these positions, because I think the world would be a completely different place if there were more women and non-binary people in positions of power. I think a lot of it rests in our hands to make a change in the world, you know, like not always having to be so far-reaching. You don't have to think you're going to change the world and do this big thing, but maybe you can just make one person change or feel better about themselves. And that's how VC started. It never started from, oh, we're going to have a big festival and it's going to be huge. And it was like, what about we try and make it a little bit easier for a few women that didn't manage to get into motorcycles to ride? And then it just went step by step. So small changes make a big difference. But I think the future lies in our own hands. And I hope that we can make a world where our rights just aren't debated. They're just guaranteed for us all. And safety and freedom is something we don't have to seek out special spaces for. It's just something that is in our lives and inherently within us.
I want that world. Give me that world. I mean, VC is that world. That's the best bit.
But when
you get to sample it.
Yeah. When you've been amongst that feeling, you realize actually it's not impossible, but it's created by community and it's created by doers. We get so many people come to Camp BC and they're like, after I came last year, I've set up my own collective doing this. Like it's like a book club, or it's a automotive collective, or it's like a skate collective, and that's like so inspiring to me. I mean, I'm obsessed with like DIY culture and doing it yourself. I love being boots on the ground. I love making it happen.
You mentioned your 2 boys earlier, and VC is this freedom, but we also take quite a bit of like the maleness out of the experience. Where do men fit in your view of VC?
I don't think that the world of VC has ever not included men, in the sense where, I mean, like, I'll always put my hands up and say that actually, like, one of the main members of VC has actually always been my husband. Like, he has been the most amazing, supportive facilitator of all the weird shit that I've done. Whether that's like, you know, coming to pick me up in the middle of nowhere because my old chopper broke down, or, you know, at Camp VC, there are actually a lot of guys that come and help us set up the festival and help us run it during the weekend, in terms of amazing set builders, people that help literally build the actual event for us. To the guys that are involved in some of the riding schools, we're really lucky. We have quite a few women that are involved in the riding schools, but you can't find an all-female dirt bike riding team of instructors to teach. And so the guys that come to site and teach, for instance, Desert Rose, the amazing guys there, you know, they come and they are as much a part of this as we are. You know, they come and they share their skills. They believe in this so much as well. They really care about the experience that people come away with. And so having them as a part of this, they're really important. Without them, Camp VC wouldn't exist. 100% it couldn't exist. And so, like, you know, I don't think it's about making guys separate. I think it's actually about having them support us. It's something that I've really been really lucky with. My partner, we've been together for a very, very long time. He's never told me no, and never told me you can't do that because you're a girl. He's never made me feel like that. And so, like I said before, you know, my son's now growing up in that atmosphere as well, is really important to me. I don't think like the future for women exists completely without men. It does involve guys, and like I happily and proudly say that. Like, I don't think it's about keeping everybody separate.
Awesome. I love it. I've got a friend who talks about VC as this social experiment. It doesn't exist anywhere else. AI doesn't recognize it, as I said, but like, where else do you get this experience for women, and where do you, and like the thought that goes into it, the thought of like, how do men play a part, and how do you keep everyone safe, and how do you create freedom, and how do you create the most hopeful environment that possibly could ever exist? To my knowledge, I haven't found many outside of VC like this. Like, it's huge, massive kudos. So cool.
I don't think I could have dreamed that it would end up like this. I'm not saying end, but next year's 10-year anniversary. But yeah, I mean, we're just as passionate about it now as we were in the beginning. Just this, creating this feeling that yeah, just seems like it doesn't really exist in many places for women now, and non-binary people. It is just, yeah, hopefully like they come away feeling hopeful, because I know I do.
Shall we finish with one last question? If you could plant the seed in the mind of women and non-binary that would grow into courage and a sense of hope and possibility, what would that be?
Buy a ticket to Camp VC.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that can be a mic drop. Hope lies in like finding safety and freedom for yourself, about taking the risk, about just saying yes instead of saying no, and giving things a go. That's where the cool shit is. That's where the exciting stuff is, and that's what can change your life.
Massive thanks to Gem for joining us on the Hopecast. She is bloody ace, isn't she? In this convo, we uncovered how Camp VC grew from motorbike lessons in a car park into a community where freedom, risk-taking, and full creativity give rise to real hope. Hope that we can take into our everyday life and build those futures we want. Until next time, keep choosing freedom and keep choosing hope. See you soon.
You know, I believe that self-love is very important. Get out of my way, 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 feeling kinda
mind to feel something, I would, yeah. And no, I don't want you to feel misunderstood, no. It's just that I'm not in the place to give you your way. And maybe I just need the space and the grace to say that I don't have the room for you to be all in it. And I don't think I will later down the road. Get out of my way, feeling kinda bad, feeling kinda heavy, feeling kinda sad. I don't want you back. I'm not what you want, I never had. Feeling kinda bad, feeling kinda heavy, feeling kinda sad. I don't want you back. I'm not what you want, I never had. Bad, heavy, sad. Feeling kinda bad, feeling kinda heavy, feeling kinda sad. I don't want you back. I'm not what you want, I never had. What you want, I never had.